Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, our guest is David Perchinsky, dialysis patient, former baseball coach and teacher, who is currently seeking a kidney transplant. Tonight, we're doing something a little different. We are doing a tough questions broadcast with Coach Dave, where we are going to address some of the difficult issues involving dialysis and kidney transplant. Dave was previously on our broadcast August 4th, 2024. Here are some of the reminders of that discussion. Dave has had his struggles with chronic kidney disease, including 2 strokes, a heart attack, and a 5 bypass surgery, all while he's been seeking a kidney donor. David, who lives in Minnesota, did his undergraduate work at South Dakota State University from 1994 to 1997, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in sociology. He returned in 2001 to 2003 for a Master of Science degree in sports pedagogy. His additional credentials include a doctorate in leadership for the advancement of learning and service from the Cardinal Stritch University in Milwaukee. Dave was a 44-year-old young, fit, and active guy, but in late October of 2017, he was mowing his grass and all of a sudden he couldn't push the lawnmower anymore. He became extremely winded and sat down. He knew something was wrong. A week later, he was helping his father move in Minnesota when he felt nauseous, pretty bad, and extremely weak. His father called 911. Dave discovered that he had had a small heart attack and 2 small strokes. Shortly after this, he was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease and was later placed on dialysis with a need for a kidney transplant. Hypertension caused Dave's kidneys to fail. He's been unable to hold a job since 2018. Dialysis has not been kind to Dave. Just 2 years into dialysis in 2020, he had an angiogram that led to a need for a 5 bypass surgery. Having completed cardiac rehab, Dave is now working out religiously about 4 days a week. To this day, he remains on dialysis. He told me right before the broadcast that he continues to have issues with his dialysis. Because of chronic fatigue and mobility issues, Dave is seeking a living kidney donor or a deceased kidney donor as soon as possible. At the time of our first broadcast, he had twin 14-year-olds, a boy and a girl, and a daughter who was 17 years old. They are his motivation to continue living. Dave is currently listed at the Transplant Center at the University of Minnesota Medical Center. I'm going to share that link during the broadcast. To apply to become a donor online there, I'll also share that link. He's working with our good friends Kent Bressler and Kidney Solutions at kidneysolutions.org. For additional information, you can call and talk to Kent or Shannon at their new phone number, 830-285-2140. That's 830-285-2140. Tonight, we're going to ask some tough questions, and Dave tells me he's ready. So please give a warm welcome to Dave Perchinsky. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me tonight. Look forward to the opportunity. Thanks again for having me.
Not a problem at all. Glad you're here, buddy. Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
You did. Keep in mind that when kidney disease struck me, didn't know what it was, and it was mowing my lawn, and I stopped, extremely fatigued, sat down, took off my boots. My feet were the size of small watermelons. And that really was the beginning of kidney disease that I was not aware of, end stage renal kidney disease. And then everything from there really kind of took step by step. But I really started dialysis at the end of 2019, and here we are today.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and your employment experiences.
Sure. Grew up in Bloomington, Minnesota. Went to South Dakota State University for my undergraduate. Taught for a couple, 3 years, and then I went back for grad school and did that for 2 years. Then I went out to the University of Wisconsin Whitewater, taught for 8, 9 years. Came back to the Western Wisconsin. My wife at the time, she got an opportunity, so we uprooted to Western Wisconsin. I taught at a community college, actually in Minnesota. Did that for about 2 years. And then I stayed home with the kids for probably about a year and a half to 2 years. And then actually I went into the car sales business, did finance for a number of years. And my last position of employment, I was a school administrator for a elementary school and middle school and high school. And then then kidney disease struck, and then here I am today. So,
Okay. Update us a little bit on what's going on with your children.
well, my oldest daughter goes to Duke University. She is, yeah, she's going to Duke University. She's she got through her first semester and on to her second. She's doing real well. Loves it, being a typical college freshman. And my twins are sophomores in high school and being sophomores in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that hypertension and a heart attack caused your kidneys to fail. Can you tell us approximately when this occurred?
Well, that occurred in late October of 2017, and that was the incident of mowing my lawn. And then all of a sudden, kidney disease is the silent killer, and it's oftentimes called that, and it is what it is. And later, through numerous checkups, not checkups, but numerous times meeting with a nephrologist in the hospital and things of that nature, we deduced that it was hypertension. And being at that time being 44 years old, well, being I didn't go see the doctor as much as I should have. I really didn't. And that's probably where it all went wrong. I should have gone to my annual physicals. I really should have. When I came back to Minnesota, see, when I got sick, and it kind of subsided. So my dad was actually in the process of moving. I thought, well, hey, I could probably go help him out. And lo and behold, that was not a good situation. Yet, um, with him taking the time to call an ambulance for me, probably saved my life because I did have a heart attack and 2 small strokes.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the tough issues
Yeah.
concerning dialysis.
Yes.
Approximately when were you placed on dialysis?
End of 2019.
Okay. What kind of modality are we talking about? In
I
center, at home?
in I have a tremendous in center DaVita Dialysis Center in Lakeville, Minnesota. Um, I have my nephrologist. I see him frequently. I see him. Saw my PA today, as a matter of fact. I see her on a weekly basis. I can't speak highly enough of the staff, the care that they do. I really can't.
Okay. I understand that you've been on dialysis approximately 5 years. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, yeah. It's just about 5. Yeah,
Okay.
living over 5 years. Yeah, yeah.
Is dialysis a cure for kidney failure?
No, absolutely not. It's a treatment, and the treatment that I'm seeking is a living kidney donor. Yes, for the audience, for the ones that are listening, yes, I would take a deceased donor if that comes available as well. But it's a treatment. It's a treatment.
Okay. Um, in your experience, what potential side effects of dialysis have you experienced?
Oh my goodness, Jim. Well, let's see. I've huh, wow. There's there's what's called dry weight, and it's the lowest weight that that your body possibly can be without being fluid overloaded. Um, Oftentimes, when when the machine is taking the fluid off your body, sometimes it can take too much fluid, and it's cramping like you've never experienced in your life before. If you think you've had bad cramps, that's just that's nothing compared to these cramps. um, I've had extreme lightheadedness. I've often, not oftentimes, occasionally I have fainted. um, well, today yeah, geez. Dialysis for me is 3 hours and 45 minutes. And it's like it's waves. You had the first hour, which isn't too terribly bad, from the fact that that your blood pressure is elevating a little bit, or it's decreasing a little bit. But then the second hour, it really kind of kicks in a little bit, and I physically can look at my hands and see the wrinkles starting in my hands. That's the fluid coming off of my body. And then the third hour is well, about an hour, about no, half an hour of the last hour is still pretty rough, but then you kind of start to come back a little bit. So it's tough. It's not fun.
Okay. My notes tell me that some of the long-term side effects are cardiovascular disease,
100%.
nutritional deficiencies leading to a loss of protein or vitamin D, or
Correct.
reduced kidney function. Have you experienced any of these?
That's a great, those are great points, Jim. I was in the hospital Monday, and the ER doctor took a blood draw, and he took an extensive blood draw. I think it was 8 or 9 vials, but one of them was that he wanted to see what my kidney function was. Well, he knew it wasn't functional, but actually my EGFR, my kidney function, is 6%. At one point in time, it's been 3%.
Ooh.
So yeah, so the hospital where I am choosing to be transplanted, in order for me to start dialysis, my EGFR had to be, I believe, 15. Um, Although I was in the stages of end stages renal failure at that point in time anyway. But um, yeah, from a nutrition standpoint, I think that is so vital, to discuss that. um, Being in center dialysis, I have a nutritionist, a renal dietitian, and she's magnificent. And she has made it complex yet simple, from the standpoint, the better I eat, the better my blood numbers are. And that means that I'm better prepared for a transplant. So that is a key factor in this whole variables of dialysis, because yes, I do have some protein loss, without a doubt. Not to make light of it, but I know that if I have a bad meal, or one or two bad meals that for the week, well, my up and coming blood draw the following week, it will indicate that. And so for me, I'm primarily vegetarian. If I do eat meat, um, it's primarily chicken. I will have tacos once a week because I have to have my tacos. Uh, but yeah, you made some great points. You made some great points, Jim. You really did. Thank you.
Okay. While you were doing in-center dialysis,
Mhm.
have you ever witnessed another patient passing out or actually dying?
Uh, Passing out, yes. Well, heck, I've done that. I've had my chest rubbed to wake me up, but I've witnessed that with many patients. So, it's there's no one way of dialysis, but there is a right way of doing dialysis, and that's once again nutrition. Working out is vital for your heart health in general. But it's all in the goal and the ascertain, trying to get to the point of when I do get transplanted, I will do the recovery better because I'll be in better shape. But yes, I've seen some poor situations uh, doing dialysis. Yes, I have. And I, now that I think about it, I have probably been brought out of the center by an ambulance probably 4 times. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 4 times. Yeah.
Well, just from my own experience, Dave, I was on dialysis in center for 4 years.
Oh, so you
I did
know,
witness people passing out. I did
yeah.
see 4 people die.
Oh,
There
no,
was
no,
one
no.
lady that I could have reached out and touched
Oh,
that
goodness gracious.
passed away in my presence in the chair next to
Oh,
me.
that's
So
oof.
it does, we want people to know it does happen.
Oh
How
man,
long can one undergo dialysis safely? How long can a patient live on dialysis?
that is solely what you put into it. If you're not eating properly, if you're not hydrating properly, if you're not exercising, if you're not doing the things that you need to do to enhance your situation, you're probably not going to make it very long. And statistically, I've read 5 to 10 years, but I'm not a big statistics person because I'm going to beat those statistics. But I've also heard 10 to 20 years too. So it's very subjective in my opinion. And everybody's situation is very different. And keep in mind, Jim, I had 5 bypass. I vividly remember the day I walked back into the clinic with a walker, and the dialysis tech looked at me. She goes, "I thought I'd never see you again." And I just smiled and I said, "Well, here I am." So um, it's what you put into it. I can't stress that enough. And the dialysis team, I look at things from a sports perspective. The better my team does, the better I do for my team, that just shows that my team is doing the right thing, in my opinion, and I'm doing the right thing for them. I don't like going into a Monday blood draw and knowing that I had 2 cheat meals or 3 cheat meals for that week, or I didn't eat very well for the weekend. I don't like them to have to look at poor blood draws. I don't like that.
Okay. How has dialysis affected your lifestyle? Things like travel, managing your time, impact on your activities. How would you characterize it?
Well, I used to probably play 36 holes a week of golf. Used to be a college baseball coach, strength coach. Getting back into the gym doing after doing cardiac rehab, I had to learn how my body can do things that I will see people in the gym doing particular lifts, and I'm like, I used to do that. Um, but I have mobility issues. If I go to the grocery store, I have to walk with a cart. If I go to say Kohl's, I have to use one of their shopping carts. And I can't. I know physically I can't walk more than 100 feet without having some stability issues. And chronic fatigue is chronic fatigue. After dialysis today, and I got back to my house about 11 o'clock, and I slept until 4. That's how draining. And as you well know, Jim, that's how draining dialysis can be. Now,
Have you had any adjustment to your fluid intake since you were
um,
on dialysis?
let me just back up for 1 second. You asked about travel. I've not been able to travel. Absolutely not. That from the medical standpoint, being being active on the transplant list, I don't want to say travel to, let's say New Mexico for some reason, and then get a call in New Mexico and have to be back in Minneapolis within 4 hours, and to juggle all of that. and just the physical toll that traveling can take on your body. I do know that my center will set up dialysis opportunities for me in different states. The DaVita is nationwide, so they would accommodate me as best as they could. Um, so travel's difficult. Travel's difficult. I can only imagine it is. So, but now I'm sorry. What was your last question there? Oh, fluid intake. Fluid intake.
Fluid intake.
Yeah. I was restricted to 32 ounces of fluid for about 4.5 years. And then 6 months ago, I lost the ability altogether to urinate, and I'm only allowed 16 ounces of fluid. Now, when you think of fluid, there's fluid in fruits and vegetables. There's fluid in yogurt. I need to stay away from dairy. So you're talking cheese, you're talking ice cream. Um, Lean meats is what I have to eat, especially vegetables, a lot of vegetables, ton of vegetables. Particular fruits I have to kind of stay away from. So, yeah, so 16 ounces a day for me. Now, do I do 16 ounces a day? Probably not. Probably not. But I sure do like ice cubes. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Do you have any sleep disturbance? Do you have insomnia?
Oh my gosh, I did it. I did at one point in time. Probably the first. You know what I did? Boy, the first 2 years before I had my 5 bypass, I would probably sleep around oh 3 hours at the max. So I was up quite a bit. I would lay down. I would fall asleep for about 20 minutes and then back up again. But quite frankly, after my 5 bypass and starting working out again, um, working out, eating right has I sleep good. I sleep good. Now, as I mentioned before, I had dialysis today and I crashed from 11 to 4, but I'll still go to bed at my normal bedtime hour and I'll get up at my normal time I normally get up. And but that is solely, I kid you not, it's from working out and being as active as I possibly can be and eating correctly.
Okay. Is transportation to and from dialysis an issue for you?
Well, it was initially, but with my car, it's not necessarily an issue. But for instance, what happened today at dialysis, um, and you know this, um, after they take you out the machine, they put the bandages on your fistula and you have to hold for around 15, 20 seconds and no 15 no 10 to 15 minutes. Well, I was pretty antsy and I looked down. I thought it looked pretty good. I went and weighed myself. I checked out and I went into my car and I started to drive out of the parking lot and I noticed that my right arm was very hot and I looked down and my sweatshirt was completely filled with blood. And that brings a good point. I got to go out and clean my car later on of all the blood. So transportation was a little bit tricky. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
My notes are telling me that patients do have significant transportation challenges with the groups that schedule transportation, ambulance, mobility groups. And there's a study that says patients miss up to 72% of their dialysis appointments, and 84% of patients have to shorten their dialysis treatment because of inflexible and unreliable nature of prearranged transportation services. So that can be an issue for dialysis patients.
I see that firsthand. I see that. And when I was using transportation, a taxi service through my insurance, it was difficult. It like If I was supposed to get on at 6:30 in the morning, well, they dropped me off at 5:45 in the morning sometimes, or they picked me up at 5:15, and it was only 10 minutes away. So I'd have to sit in the lobby for half an hour, if not up to an hour sometimes, before the technicians could put me on the machine. So, and sometimes when I would be waiting for oh geez, terrible situations, terrible situations. I agree with that statement. I agree with that.
Have you had experience with infections while you were on dialysis?
Me personally, no, because I'm a lot type A, and I'm a clean freak. But I have seen situations with other patients, especially with their catheters. I have seen that with other patients at the center. Yes, I have seen that. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the tough questions
Yep.
concerning kidney transplant.
Yes.
When were you first listed for a kidney transplant?
Okay. I was first listed in 2020 for a kidney transplant. Um, I was I was able to receive they at the University of Minnesota, after a list of tests that you have to do with the center. They will initially list you with deceased donors. And then, so to speak, step two is to be active with um, receiving a active living kidney donor. So for me, it was 2020 with deceased. Um, After, well, 2021 was when I was when I was totally active, but then my heart issues came up, and then I was paused, and I've been paused a couple of times for upwards to 6 months.
Okay. And my understanding is you're listed at the University of Minnesota
Correct.
Transplant Center,
Correct.
the University of Minnesota Medical Center, and
Yep.
just so our viewers know, if you go to my Facebook page, Jim Myers, this broadcast is pinned to the top of my Facebook page, and if you go into comments, everything we're talking about tonight is in the comments, and the links to David's Transplant Center and how to apply to be a kidney donor there are all in those comments. So you want to check those out. Um, what kind of a donor are you looking for, David?
Well, I trust my transplant team. My transplant team is going to match me up with the best um, available kidney donor. Um, if one comes to fruition, um, they'll let me know. I think people oftentimes think that they have to be in perfect shape to be a kidney donor, but that's not true. Um, there's a saying in the kidney world that when you attempt to be a kidney donor, you have to go through numerous steps, but you essentially get $1 million physical. So if anything, you're getting $1 million physical. So I fully trust my uh, my health team, along with Kidney Solutions, and receiving the advice that they've given me. They've absolutely guided me through this whole process, and I completely trust them.
Okay. David, what do you plan to do if you're unable to find a kidney transplant, a living or a deceased donor?
Well, I think it's going to happen, Jim. I do think it's going to happen. I'm doing the necessary steps on my end to be a good teammate. And as far as my situation, and keep in mind that everybody's situation is different, um, I stay in contact with my transplant coordinator fairly often, either through email or a simple call. Um, so um, I'm I'm active within this space. Now, what would I do if I didn't receive a kidney transplant? Well, Jim, I'm 51 years old. I'm in pretty darn good shape. Um, I look at it from the spectrum of I'm the ideal candidate to receive a kidney. And there would be less hoops to jump through to transplant me than there would be, so to speak, other people in this space.
Have you had false alarms in your experience, David, where
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
agreed to test for you either didn't test well or backed out from donating?
Yes, absolutely. I can, oh, yes. Two good friends of mine. Um, one friend tested fairly early in this whole process for me. She was, after a lengthy blood draw, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Um, Another good friend of mine, he has horrendous prostate cancer. And so those two are obviously out. I've had other people test, but I don't inquire how they're doing with the testing, because I think that's intrusive. Um, so yes, I've had two very well. I've been called to the University of Minnesota Transplant Center to receive a kidney. That situation didn't work out. I've had another situation that didn't work out. So yes, there are fault. There are there are too many situations like that. Yes.
Okay. Frequently, people ask me, what makes you a good or not good candidate for transplant. Some of the possible reasons that you might be rejected are certain medical conditions, your age, a lack of support. Have you
Yeah.
run into any of these issues, Dave?
Uh, well, I've been paused on the transplant list. Let me think here. Um, 5 bypass, so I was paused for 6 months. Um, I had my gallbladder taken out. That was 3 months. I had pneumonia, which actually, um, what did it do to my heart? It did. I had a bad um, uh, pulse from that, and they actually had to do a procedure where they knocked me out and restarted my heart. And I was paused on the list for 3 months for that too. But otherwise, my situation is my situation, and I'm going to the gym tomorrow morning at 5:30 in the morning because you know what? I want to rock that transplant recovery, and I want to keep doing good for my health team and for myself. So yeah,
Okay. I'm scrolling across the screen now where you're listed at the University of Minnesota.
correct,
And here's the link,
correct.
folks, that if you wish to apply to be a donor for Dave, you can follow this link. And again, the same link is in the comments to the broadcast. That's pinned to the top of my personal Facebook page. I understand that you've also been working with Kidney Solutions. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, I got involved with Kidney Solutions actually through Twitter, and I had Shannon Mulroy reach out to me one day through Twitter, and she said, "Hey, I'm from Kidney Solutions," and that's how I found Kidney Solutions. But she reached out to me, and we have a connection because she has twins, I have twins. Just kind of led from there, and then I had a conversation with Kent Bressler, the founder, um, and they are the utmost professionals when it comes to the kidney world and being a living donor, receiving a kidney, working with a broad spectrum of kidney patients. And I personally don't know where I would be in this kidney world if it wasn't for their help. I can honestly tell you that because they know more than they know. It's just incredible. It's just incredible.
Okay. Let's talk for a minute about the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of having a kidney transplant versus dialysis. There are some people that are reluctant to do a transplant and prefer to stay on dialysis. Um, I've been told that kidney transplants often lead to a better quality of life, a longer lifespan, while dialysis is widely available and can extend life, but it does have limitations in terms of your lifestyle and potential complications. What are your thoughts on that? What would you prefer, the transplant or to remain on dialysis?
There is no question to answer. There is by far transplant, by far transplant. And when you were saying all this, which is phenomenal, I just think of Kent Bressler. He's he's been 30 plus years transplanted, and he has lived his life. And I see so many transplanted people, how life comes back in their face, and now what they're doing, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And um, yes, there are some stipulations to it. We all know that for the most part. I mean, immunosuppressant drugs, you have to be diligent with that, have to take them for a lifetime. You do have to watch your diet for the yes, but hey, if you want to have a prime rib steak every once in a while, go get it. For me personally, not at this point in time, but I can't wait to do that again sometime. Uh, and hopefully I can have some dessert after having a nice meal out sometime too. So, um, I 51 years old again. I want to get back into teaching and coaching again. Make a positive impact within my community, and doing the life of dialysis. Dialysis is just a quick example of what dialysis is like for me, Jim. Um, I'm there at 6:15 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm hooked up by 6:30. I'm there until I'm off around 10:30, 10:45, depends on how the dialysis session goes. Um, and then I have to do 15, 20 minutes of holding my fistula, and really kind of collecting myself again. And then I come home around 11 and I'm out till about 4. Well, that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And quite frankly, the last 3 months, it's actually been 5 days a week for me because I've been unable to take the fluid off, that I have to take the fluid off because of just,
Wow.
yeah. So, um, but this may sound a little odd, but I'm one of the lucky ones. I get to do dialysis. There are some patients that are in situations where they can't do dialysis. Like you said, transportation, support. There's a whole list of real life examples of why people can't do dialysis.
Okay. Is kidney transplant a cure for kidney failure, or is it just another form of renal replacement therapy?
Nope, it's a treatment, and but I am looking forward to that treatment because I'm gonna rock that treatment, and I know that Kidney Solutions will be behind me the whole way. My health team will be behind me the whole way. Um, People that have supported me along this journey will be there too. And I look forward to the day when I get that opportunity. I really do.
What are the average wait times for a kidney transplant?
Great question. With the University of Minnesota, it's 5 to 7 years. I believe a lot of that wait time is dependent on location, locale. So yeah, I've heard that it's shorter wait times in Florida or Arizona or New York. Now, keep in mind, I could be in 2 different UNOS regions, but because of various roadblocks, I just had to be in the Midwest UNOS transplant
Okay.
center. Yeah.
Are there any advantages to multiple listing to be listed at multiple transplant centers?
Well, I would think so, because you could get the call from X or you could get the call from Y. So you could get a call from either, possibly 2 different places. So you're being thrown in the loop for 2 places, not rather than just one. But then once again, if I get a call, it's just for conversation's sakes. Say I was all of a sudden at the Iowa University of Iowa Transplant Center, if that's what it is. Well, if I got a call at midnight on a Tuesday and they want me to be there in 4 to 6 hours, well, I got to get in the car. Well, the 4 to 6 hours of driving for me physically, I couldn't do that. So I'd have to have somebody drive. There are obstacles, but there are opportunities by being involved in 2 different UNOSs. Yes.
Okay. Is transportation an issue for you to get to your transplant center?
Some days, simply for the fact of fatigue, of chronic fatigue for me. I have a dear friend that he's driven me and picked me up numerous times. Being in the great state of Minnesota with our impending weather situations, um, there's some snowfall issues that we've had. He has a big old truck, so he's got me there. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed because I have that support system. I do.
How far away are you from your transplant center?
Well, about 21 minutes.
Okay.
About 21 minutes, and it's primarily back roads. It's suburban, so it's the suburbs. So I'm not. It's not as if I'm going into St. Paul or Minneapolis. I'm in the suburbs.
Because my notes are telling me that some people have to take a commercial air flying flights to get to their transplant centers. The schedule's unreliable. Um, there's issues with where the organ is being placed, if it's in the cargo hold or in the cockpit. Currently, after COVID, it's my understanding that there are delays because the transplanted organ is actually ends up in the storage area of the plane as opposed to the cargo area, as opposed to being in the cockpit. And that sometimes it renders the organs unusable, just so our
Well,
audience knows.
yeah,
You're fortunate that you're so close to where you have to go.
yeah. I would think that those would be very small situations, um, or very unique situations. I believe personally that the organ procurement world is very dynamic in their protocols. Yes, mistakes probably do happen, and of course, mistakes always get published and everybody hears about them. But at the same time, those situations aren't probably done on a routine basis. So I'm trusting I'm once again, I'm trusting my health care. I really am. The Fairview system.
Okay,
I think they'll do me right. I really believe that.
good. Are you familiar with the risks of kidney transplantation surgery?
Yes, absolutely. You know, it, I've heard it time and time again because oh boy, I've had 7 surgeries since this whole thing started. And just like a surgery is a surgery, a anything can go wrong. But in my opinion, the way I look at it, um, I'll trust my surgeons. I'll trust my
Okay,
medical team, and I
because
know.
some of the risks my notes are telling me includes bleeding, infection,
Yeah,
rejection of the new kidney,
yep,
potential side effects from the immunosuppressant medication.
yep.
let's talk about the risk of rejection
Yep.
for a moment.
Yep.
Have you been advised that there is a risk of rejection where your body's immune system would attack
Yep.
the new kidney
Yep. Yep.
unless you're taking immunosuppressants? Can you discuss that a little bit?
I have. I I tend to deal with a situation right in front of me, but I have read material in regards to that. I've heard situations like that in Zoom calls. So being in the kidney space, if I keep both my ears open, I'm going to hear things like that. But if something of that nature does happen to me, I know I'll take it on head. I'll go right into it, and with the advisement of my care team, and be ready to conquer it. But I know it does happen, and that is it does, and that's a terrible situation, and I don't wish that upon anybody. Um, but if that does happen to me, say it does, I'll deal with it, and I'll move head on with it.
Okay. My notes are telling me that studies have shown that rejection happens in 10 to maybe 15 out of 100 patients
Yes.
within the first year of a kidney transplant, and that the risk of rejection is the highest in the first 3 to 6 months after a transplant.
Yep. Yep.
Are you familiar with recurrence of the original kidney disease after a kidney transplant occurs? In other words, the disease that affected your original kidneys can affect your newly transplanted kidney. Is that something you've been talked to about?
Not directly, but once again, I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I do the Google research, whatever you want to say, and I'll look at American medical journals and things of that nature. So I have read bits and pieces of that happening, but once again, if I when I get to the point of getting transplanted, let's get me transplanted. Okay, I'm gonna wake up with a smile on my face, and I'm gonna urinate for about 6 days, and then I'm going to have those conversations with the surgeon and the nephrologist, and they'll tell me the things that can go wrong. But here are the reasons why you should take your immunosuppressants on a daily basis, timely. Don't skip them. And if you do, this is the number to call. This is what you have to do. So I'll be prepared once again because I have the right care team and
Okay.
and support. Keep this in mind, Jim.
Very important. Yes.
And and Jim, you're part of the support too at Kidney Solutions. You know that now. So I call you out of the blue too, not just to talk baseball, but just to talk about kidney stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
So the support is so vital. And if say something went wrong, well, things have gone wrong, Jim, and I've called Kent and I've asked him his opinion. The years of experience working in the field and being a transplant person, um, boy, the knowledge that he has. So the support 101.
Okay. On the recurrence issue, my
Mm-hmm.
notes are telling me that this in particular occurs with diseases that affect your glomeruli, like IgA nephropathy or
Mm-hmm.
FSGS,
Mm-hmm.
membranous neuropathy
Mm-hmm.
that leads to graft failure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Kent and I have had friends, our friend Brian, for example, he had 3 kidney transplants, he had FSGS. Every
Wow.
single time the FSGS got to his transplanted kidney.
Hey,
So just so our audience knows that
hey,
can happen. Um,
hey.
once you receive a kidney transplant, are you aware of how long you will need to take your immunosuppressant medications?
All indications to me and everything I've read, everything I've heard, everything the questions I've asked Kent, the questions I've asked other people on Zoom calls for a lifetime.
That's my notes to reflect that too.
Yep.
As long as you have your transplanted kidney, you have to take immunosuppressants. I take mine twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening.
There you
So
go.
just so people are aware.
Yep.
Um, are are you aware of the potential side effects of immunosuppressant medications?
Yeah, yes and no. I think it really is. First of all, am I receiving a deceased don't? Am I receiving a deceased kidney? Am I receiving a living donor? I know I've heard that sometimes people get kidney cancer from it. Um, there's some inflammation as well. So once again, I'll rely on my care team to give me the correct information that's applicable to me.
Okay. My notes are telling me that certain side effects can occur, like an increased risk of infections because it lowers your
Yeah,
immune system,
yeah,
gastrointestinal issues. Your Uncle Jim has ulcers, potential long-term complications like diabetes or high
yeah.
blood pressure are all potential side effects of the medication. Do you know how long a kidney transplant can last?
As long as you as long as you're good to yourself and you're good to your kidney, right? um, Take your medications, eat right, work out, hydrate properly, um, don't miss a doctor appointment, stay on top of your meds. um, how long it can last? Kemp Rush is looking like 35 plus years, right? um,
Right.
so I think a lot of that really depends on you, depends on you. But hey, at the same time, everything can just go haywire one morning and it's out of your control.
Okay. My notes are telling me a transplant from a living donor can last between 15 and 20 years on average, while a kidney from a deceased donor on average lasts 10 to 15 years. And the important part of that note is on average. Like you said, some people do much, much better.
Yeah, and
How
see,
do you think kidney transplant is going to affect your lifestyle?
oh my gosh, it's going to be a new normal. It's going to be it's going to be a second chance, a second leaf on, a second chance on life. Um, to to be active again, oftentimes, and we all have done it in periods of our life, we take it for advantage. I don't take it for advantage. I don't. I mean, I I looked. Geez, Jim, I hope to play golf with my son. I hope to see my youngest daughter cheerlead. Um, I hope to see my oldest daughter graduate from Duke University. I hope to work again. I hope to coach again. I hope to teach again. I hope to get to know college students and impact their lives however they need help. And I look for another opportunity. I truly do. I truly do. I just like to mow my lawn.
Right.
Right?
Uh,
Right?
my notes are telling me that a kidney transplant is usually thought of to be the best treatment for kidney failure in patients. The
Hmm.
main advantages are most kidney transplant patients live longer, they
Hmm.
enjoy a better quality of life,
Hmm.
they no longer need dialysis, their
Hmm.
energy level is higher, they can go
Hmm.
back to work, they can
Hmm.
travel, that's much easier.
Hmm.
There are fewer restrictions on what you can eat and drink,
Hmm.
improved sex life and improved fertility,
Hmm.
all advantages of a kidney transplant. What would
Jim,
you do in the event that you had a kidney transplant
yeah.
and your transplant failed?
What would I do?
Yes, sir.
Well, I would deal with it head on. I wouldn't be very. That's a great question because I just met a new dialysis patient last week in the waiting room before we went into the the dialysis machine area. Um, Very jovial man, about my age, and he had a kidney transplant in 2006. But in 2021 he got COVID, and that basically sunk his kidney. And he was positive about doing dialysis. He was so grateful for the new technology. Um, I think I would have the same type of, yes, I would be more mortified at first. Who wouldn't be, right? Um, but I would deal with it the best way I know how, and that's head on and surround myself with the support that I have.
Okay. Dave, we're in the home stretch. Do you
Okay.
have any final statements that you wish to make to our audience before we conclude the broadcast tonight?
I'd love to. One of the biggest factors for me in this kidney space, as I oftentimes talk about, is nutrition. The first year and a half to 2 years, I didn't pay attention to anything that the nutrition was talking to about blood numbers, or I was still, I was eating poorly. I was depressed. Um, a lot of that led to the 5 bypass. And then once I had 5 bypass, I had to do cardiac rehab for a month and a half. And I had a remarkable trainer. And she kind of was the spark that brought it out of me to really start being tuned into nutrition. And since I've been cognizant of what I eat and what I drink, how it applies to my life and working out, my dialysis sessions are better. They're not as crampy. I'm not as lethargic. So nutrition has a direct role in the individual while living life on dialysis. And you can do it. If I can do it, you did it. We can do it. We can. But
Right.
I really appreciate the time to go over this information, Jim. Um, every person is different. Tune into your care team and just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward.
Okay. Dave, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I know these were some tough questions. You came up with the concept for this broadcast, and I hope it's been interesting for our audience. And I want to thank you for being so honest and forthright about yourself and your opinions. And I think you did a wonderful job tonight. We definitely educated some folks, and I'm sure we raised some awareness. So thank you for that. I have a few things I need to button up with my audience, what's going on next week, that type of thing. I've kept you for close to an hour.
Okay, that's great.
You can go now if you wish to, and I just have things to button up with the folks, and then I'm done.
Okay, Jim, thanks a bunch. I'll call you at 2:30 in the morning sometime, and we'll talk about baseball. And
Oh yeah.
go Twins, all right? Go Twins, baby.
All right.
Talk to you
Take care,
soon.
my
Take care.
friend.
Hey, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right, that's our broadcast for tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching. Um, our next broadcast is April 4th. Uncle Earl's going to be on with us. We're doing something a little different. Uncle Earl is a double lung transplant patient, so we're going to talk about that and take the crash course on double lung transplant. He's quite a character, so it should be interesting. So I'll see everybody on April 4th. Just a reminder, this broadcast will be available for replay. I'm going to put it in all of my Facebook groups, around 120 now. And I also will put it in another 100 groups or so that I have permission to post to. And, just about any social media platform that you're on, including Blue Sky. So if you missed the broadcast or you have friends that missed the broadcast, tell them to check out the instant replay, and I'm happy to make that available. So we'll see you next week. You have a good week, and thank you for watching.